Welcome to the Campfire Passport Podcast. We're going to do an intro, not like we do intros normally. We're going to do it with everybody here.
Maybe Morgan will like this better.
I don't think so.
Yeah, probably not.
I don't think so. Yeah, I doubt it. He loves the podcast. Shout out to Morgan, biggest fan.
Love you, Morgan.
Other than Andrew, I think. But
my brother?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's a listener.
I know.
I'm aware. Yeah. He's a big fan. I think.
Shout out to Andrew.
Shout out to Andrew. Anyways, I thought it'd be fun to record with the four of us just because why not? Because we're here. And last time I forgot and we pushed it off for like a while.
A week.
Yeah.
Quite literally exactly a week.
Exactly 1 week we pushed it off. Anyways, I thought it would be fun. Tonight's podcast, we go over new cars. That's it, right? New cars. That's pretty much the whole thing. We brought Aaron here because Aaron is a new car nerd like I am.
Industry expert.
We brought in Luke because he is also an industry expert who is a new car nerd like I am. Colin is kind of a new car nerd depending on what his algorithm feeds him, it turns out.
Yeah.
And we specifically excluded Jesse because he hates new things. And Mike because I can't think of a good reason, but he's going to get mad at me
He's
for
loud.
saying it. Yeah, so it'll be fun. And I also want to make sure to special mention to Steve because Steve actually also knows a lot about new cars, but he couldn't make it tonight. So,
He's sick. Yeah.
Yeah, he's sick. So
Get well soon.
Get well soon, Steve.
Get well soon, Steve.
Hopefully you're good by the time.
By the time this comes out, I really hope he's doing well.
If not, Godspeed, Steve. All right. Like, comment, subscribe. Colin, anything else? Any new merch or anything coming? Do we have anything cool?
No merch.
Nothing.
Nothing new
We got
anyway.
Nothing cool.
People don't buy the merch we have, so it
Buy the merch.
it doesn't
we've got.
matter.
What if we did like? Can we do
We've
like
got
a
we've got more
coupon
videos coming out though.
or something? Like, can we get people pumped? Email secretsvp
Yeah.
at gmail.com. And
If
you might
you're
get a
that
coupon.
interested, email that email address and we'll cut you a deal.
And Mike, please forward it to us. This is the new studio again, which I think is super fun. And it's the first time that we're going to do the new studio plus a remote guest. And our remote guest is Luke. Hi, Luke.
Hi.
And Luke is a normal guest, but today he's a remote guest because we're all here and he's not. Yeah.
Also, like, not that... Well, normal's, like, relative.
Yeah, well, normally we're all... Oh, also, yeah, you're not normal at all. But normally we're all remote for this, which is different. So, anyways, I think that the first thing I wanted to talk about is the studio space. So,
Okay.
It is a room in a shop.
It is a room.
And it took a while to get it to this. The last episode with Harrison, I think content-wise, probably pretty good. Although, like I said in the intro for that one, we went way off the rails. But I think it's fun stuff that we talked about.
Yeah.
The look of the room was sketchier than this. And this is sketchy looking. Aaron keeps thinking that it looks like a ransom video for him. I told him just to be quiet the whole time and just like act scared.
There's a bit of an ISIS video theme here, yeah.
It really
Yeah.
is. Yeah. Colin, can you tell us a little bit about our setup? Can you give me an MTV Cribs on this?
It's a 12 by 12 room with packing blankets on the walls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many?
8
No fewer than 8 packing blankets
on the walls. And that's not counting what's on the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
There's more on the ceiling. And then we have a shoddy iPhone on a tripod
Hey, that's a nice
for our
iPhone.
camera. Okay, fine. It's a nice iPhone.
And we have a 91 Thunderbird SC right outside our window.
Yep.
And folks, did you know they made them in manual transmissions? Because Aaron and I did not.
That's news to me.
That's right. I just had no idea.
I figured if anybody would know, it'd be you, the Ford guy.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Ford guy. I think Colin's more of a Ford guy than I am.
I probably am. The guy with the Chevy is the Ford guy.
Well, Rangers kind of suck. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they look good though.
Yeah,
I love they have that the Aussie Ute look. I'm a fan of that.
I like the new one. I think the new one looks pretty good. I just saw the Ranger Raptor when I was in California, and that looked really good. And then I just saw a video. Who's the Australian YouTubers? TJ and Mac. Have you ever followed them?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
they've got one that's like just kind of like super tourer style, and it looks really good. It's like black on black, and it's got these cool, I don't know, LED headlight things going on, and a tray bed, and all the good stuff. So
yeah,
I don't know, they're fine.
Okay,
it's not a Tacoma. That's for sure.
Well, and here's the thing: is none of them are a ZR2.
Oh, well, yeah. So
in the hierarchy of mid-sized trucks, when it comes to how we like to use things, it's Gladiator, ZR2, and then whatever else after that.
All right, I'll give you that. I will. Now, if I'm buying one, it's Gladiator, Tacoma, ZR2.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's too bad for you.
You can add a front locker. It's fine. You can't add style.
I think the ZR2 looks better than a Tacoma.
Yeah, they're fine. I don't know what it is. They look like narrow to me.
They're wider.
But
quite literally, they're wider.
I believe it.
There is something to be said about not having the exact same truck as literally everyone else.
There is that.
There is that, yeah. And again, I like the more like Australian market looking trucks.
Are there ZR2s in Australia?
No, yes, probably.
Hey, Jamie, why don't you look that up?
I'll look it up. But it's one of those, like, because like they have the Hilux there, not the Tacoma, and it has a different look.
Yeah.
The Nissan Navara, right?
Yes.
And the D-Max.
And the D-Max, yes. Legend. Exactly. And they have a little bit different look, and that's what like the Ranger and the ZR2 looks like to me. Like they look more that style.
There's a style thing. I think Luke just looked this up and beat you. I could tell by his anticipation face.
Yeah, I'm still Colorado.
Gotta get 2 or 3 sources
Australia.
here.
I think the Silverado might, but they like barely import Silverado-sized trucks to Australia, so I don't.
You know, it's interesting.
That's a new thing.
Yeah, that market's growing. The half-ton truck thing is big.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a bunch of stuff about that recently, actually, with the Ram especially. I don't know why Dodge has or Stellantis has the foothold in that, because it seems like they're the primary one, with Ford not far behind.
Yeah,
but Ford obviously has a big Australian presence, so that makes sense.
I don't know that much about Australia.
Oh, come on. It's Europe's redneck cousin.
Well, I
like the 2023 is not.
I like the 4-wheel drive 24/7, but like I don't get like alerts on my phone like you probably do, and I don't. I haven't watched every.
They hit the bell.
I don't have notifications. I just check it every single day. I don't need notifications for that.
Yeah, I've watched like 6 or 7 episodes. It's not a.
Okay. I'm glad that you actually are watching it though, because a year ago you were like, I don't watch things on YouTube. Sorry.
Well, no, it was just like I don't know what that is because I hardly ever watch YouTube.
Well,
but
I used to be the same way, Luke. Yeah. But I've grown a little bit more on it So,
some of it stems from like my wife's travel schedule lately means that I am just at home during the middle of the week by myself, which means I run out of shit to do or people to talk to, so I just start watching YouTube.
Yeah. Are you watching Matt's Off-Road Recovery yet?
Haven't seen that one. I have watched I'm up to date on Campfire Passport.
All right. Well, that's good. I mean, that's the most important one.
And I mean,
That's
up
what we
to
need to
date today. I just watched your outboard voiceover.
Yeah, it's going to be late now, but like if you're watching this and if you're one of our friends who gets on the live stream, which is me basically, if I'm not on the podcast, you should definitely go watch that video because the cinematography is beautiful.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And the voiceover is my voice.
yeah, you guys did a fantastic job on it. Like after I got off work, I sat in my car and just watched the whole thing.
That's good.
So.
I'm glad. This is not something that should be flushed out on the podcast, but since we're here,
you can always edit.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I'm too monotone for that. And you know what I found? I listened to it for a while and I realized it reminded me of Dirt Lifestyle Nate, and it reminded me of the thing that I don't like about his videos, which is his voiceover. Which again, I've said this on air. I think if he ever listens to this, like. I think he's got some great content, and I think he's got good stuff. It's beautifully shot. He's an interesting guy. Like his Instagram is a good follow. Everything about him is like he's doing a good job for the community, I think. But his voiceover work is a little monotone. And when I listened to mine, I went, "Oh shit!" It sounds like his.
Wait till you hear the ones that I did.
My question for you is: did you script them, and did you rehearse scripting them? You should script them, and you should rehearse them.
All right, I probably should.
This is true.
I say a lot, and I say in natural conversation, in work conversation, on the podcast. I'm trying to work on it. I've been trying to work on it for my entire life.
I know,
but it's that filler word, right? So, I could probably put more effort into it. If everybody would go ahead and watch it so that it gets some views, then I will.
It might motivate him.
Put some more effort into it. But Colin kicked me off that project already anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
You took too long. I had to get stuff off the laptop. I was running out of space, man. Yeah. So it's a Holden.
It's a Holden. Well, that makes sense. But Holden is no more, right?
Right.
As of like
22.
So they basically aren't there anymore. So they got the version of the Colorado like mine, but they will not be receiving the newest version, the 2023.
Okay. And it looks pretty much the same. Looks like
pretty
there's
close.
some differences. But
it's
not much.
Instead of the bow tie, it's got the lion.
Yep.
But other than that, yeah, they're pretty close.
You know what I just realized? Usually when we're on this podcast and I open a beer, I mute my microphone. But since we're all together,
good.
I'm gonna do that.
All right, thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Right here.
I didn't mean to, but then I did it on purpose because it was funny.
I forgot to grab one, but I'm trying to be as quiet as I can.
Yeah, it's like I notice that stuff when I listen to podcasts. So from the beginning, I've been very vocal about like, do not do this, this, and this. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to see that because it annoys me. And I've made the comment, like everybody's seen this in the group message before, where I'm like, you ever listen to any podcast where this happens? I didn't think so.
Only one.
Only one. Oh, your Dinners with Racers?
Yeah,
Is that
but that's kind of their shtick. It's the bit.
Okay.
But
if you go into it knowing that's going to be the thing,
that's the thing. That's going into it knowing that there's like people like rustling plates and hitting silverware on plates in the background and all of that. It's
well, that could be like
it's like ambiance because it's
constant. That could be some
ambiance. But yeah, when it's like random, like if I set my beer on the table like that and you hear it every single, especially if you're on earbuds or noise canceling earbuds, it is the worst. Yeah,
it's bad. Yeah, the noise that I just made in my headphones was a lot. And I volume up a little bit too because Aaron and I have bad hearing. I'm sure
old guys.
Old.
Yes, got to give them the good headphones.
Yeah.
I took my hearing aids out, so
You know what? The hearing aid tech is so good, you could have just poured it in there. It would have been fine. It's like wearing an earbud all the time. All right, so let's get into our main thing. I think that's a perfect transition to move because I'm like super aware of how far we got off the rails last week, and I'm trying to make sure that
I can't wait to hear that one.
that doesn't happen. Oh, you're gonna love it. All right, so today on Instagram, that was today, right?
Yesterday or the day before.
Was it yesterday?
Sure. What's it matter for the podcast listeners?
Not
For
that
the
it matters.
podcast
Yeah.
listeners, last week-ish,
Yes.
2 weeks ago.
One day in our
Anyways.
group chat.
Anyways.
we'll say Monday.
No, it wasn't Monday.
Oh my
Aaron, come
God.
on.
It's just a nondescript day.
A
Doesn't
day.
matter what day it
Nondescript
was.
day.
The other day.
Do you need a
Which was-
timestamp
Which
on
was
it? Like,
today,
come on.
probably, or maybe yesterday. I shared to our group Instagram thread a post from the Instagram Forge Overland. Is it Forge?
Yeah, Forge,
Overland? Yeah. Great follow. If you don't follow it, it's really good. He has some really great content that's not just Overland specific. It's mostly off-road. And he kind of makes fun of dorky Overland stuff, which is fun because I think for us, like all of us, it kind of resonates. It's nice. Anyways, he had posted the new Land Cruiser because the actual configurator for the Land Cruiser just dropped. It's like, it showed the actual price, all the stuff was out there. And I looked at it and I went, oh, cool. And I kind of checked. And then against my better judgment, I hit view all 724 comments or whatever. And this guy is getting ripped apart in the comments. If go look at it when you're listening to this or after, if you're driving, of course, and see, because really, I think 60 to 80% of the comments are, how could you say that's cheap? How could you say that's affordable? How could you say that that's out or in line? This thing is bloated, overpriced, not worth the money, all these things. And I was happy that we had a good conversation between all of us about this because I thought it'd be a really interesting podcast thing. It is a lot of money, right? And we all agree that's a ton of money. It's $55,000, 56-ish, Aaron?
Yeah, we're pushing 59 something.
Yeah, for the base. And the base is stripped. There isn't a ton of stuff, but it has a lot of good features, which Aaron brought up, which we'll get into. But the thing that I was complaining about and the thing that bothered me about all those people making these comments is that is what cars cost. The premise of this, I don't agree with. I'm 100% on board. Inflation's out of control. Cars cost too much. Wages aren't high enough. Yeah, great. All those things, valid points. But to kill the messenger or the the manufacturer for playing by the rules of everybody else right now is stupid. That's an outrageous thing. Like, I don't want to spend an entire podcast defending a new Land Cruiser because that sounds like I'm just apologizing for it being awesome because it's a Land Cruiser. But I think it's an interesting conversation because it's an expensive vehicle that is expensive because all of those vehicles are expensive. Like, compare it to what, right, Luke?
Yeah, I'll defend it, and it's hard for you to defend it and not look biased because you're a Land Cruiser guy, or Aaron because
Land
you're a
Cruiser
Toyota
guy,
guy.
Land Cruiser apologists. Got two Land
both
Cruiser
of us.
apologists over here.
I'm a Jeep guy, and I'll defend it. I think for what you get comparably, you're getting a lot more out of $55,950 than you are out of a $55,000 Wrangler. The Wrangler, that's where Rubicon starts. So you finally get a front locker, but that's a base Rubicon.
Yeah.
And that, I think, carries over to what you guys were talking about the other day, which was the cross-shopping.
Yep.
I absolutely think they're cross-shopped, and I think they're cross-shopped with Grenadier, and I think they're cross-shopped with...
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Are you forgetting how that conversation went?
Did we end up landing on that I was right?
Well, the reason I say
we ended
that...
up landing on, I don't think that the Jeep in particular is cross-shopped with
I still think
the
it is.
Ineos.
That's right.
Oh, I think
still
it is. Oh, I think it
I
absolutely
think
is.
the Land Cruiser is
The Land Cruiser for sure.
100%. Yes.
Defender for sure. But I think they're in the same way.
I don't know.
I think they
I
just
think
saw
I
it.
feel like
all
it's
exist.
too different of a vehicle.
Yeah.
So
They're
outside. Go ahead, Luke.
Well, I was gonna say that. So the Land Cruiser, if you go in like build and price, there's not a ton of options you can pick in
Sure.
whether it's the base, the like midline car, or the first edition, which is the Highline car. And then next year they'll probably reconfigure that a little bit to be a base, midline, and Highline with a different name. But there's not a ton of options to choose from. Basically, everything's included in those packages.
Yeah.
You get about a $25,000 range from base to fully loaded. Wrangler is about a $50,000 range from base.
Well, I guess you got $392.
Yeah, well, and that's just Rubicon. If you include base 2-door 4-cylinder manual Wrangler, actually you can't get a manual in a 4-cylinder. So V6 manual base 2-door soft top Wrangler, $37,000 all the way to a fully loaded 392 Rubicon. They're $105,000.
Yeah.
I think when you include the reason that all of those things are cross-shopped is because Wrangler has such a broad range. And so the person looking for the lifestyle vehicle of Land Cruiser, they're not cross-shopping Wrangler, unless they want to take the top off, which is a narrow scope of people.
Yeah.
I think that the off-roader type is probably I would look at, if I was ready to go spend 60, 70 grand on a new off-roader, Land Cruiser would be in my would definitely be on my short list. I probably wouldn't look at Grenadier because it doesn't really do anything for me. It doesn't move the needle for me. Not that I think it's bad. I just don't care about it.
Yeah. I have to say two things. One, because Mike is going to listen to this and he's going to check. Looks like about 94 is the top for the top of the Wrangler line right now. So say that 94.
That is before,
that's not a realistic at a dealer.
That has nothing to do with dealer markup. Forget about dealer markup. I'm talking like that 93, 94 number on the 392 Rubicon is before you start adding dual top group, or the power sliding top, the steel bumper with a winch, the 488 gears. Like there's another $10,000 worth of add-ons. And
they can put into there.
Wrangler buyers don't buy base model Wranglers unless they're buying them for mail Jeeps, like rural mail carriers.
No, they want the sticker on the hood to say something.
They want a duck included. It's $1,000 option.
That's right. Get that gold-plated duck.
A box of ducks in the back.
Man, you're getting an extra $20,000 in ducks.
Yeah. But that's why I think they're all cross-shopped. And that's why I think Land Cruiser is priced appropriately, because you get a lot for that. And GX is priced barely higher. Like, GX isn't significant price bump. And you get a lot nicer car out of a GX. I think if you're looking at a first edition Land Cruiser, GX is probably about that range.
If you go to GX, you get the V6 too, which is burly. So that is part of it probably.
There's another thing there too, is the hybrid component. Jeep is the only other thing in the class that has a hybrid component with 4x8. And as you noted, they sell the shit out of those things.
Dude, that is a couple of years ago, that was the number one plug-in hybrid in the U.S.
It was in 2022. I don't know how it fared in 23, but 22 it was the number one plug-in hybrid vehicle.
Yeah,
of all
cars. That's a fun stat. Like, that's really cool. I kind of wish, I'm going to get off in the weeds for 1 second, but I have one point to make.
That's why we're here.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I wish that they did do a plug-in Land Cruiser. I wish they did a Land Cruiser Prime. And I think that'd be cool. Like, I think a lot of people that are buying soft roaders, that are buying 4Runners or Bronco Sports, would probably buy a little bit more expensive Land Cruiser with a plug-in if they got 25 miles of range or whatever. But I'm sure there are plans in the mix, and I'm sure there's also reasons why it doesn't exist right now. So whatever. But bench racing it, to me, like, I was actually just having this conversation in the car. Like, if that was a plug-in hybrid, I think we would get one. But it's not, so I'm not going to, because although it's the thing that I want, it's not the thing that my partner wants.
Yeah.
If it had 20 miles of electric range all the time, she'd be in. Like, she's like, yeah, great. I can take it to the trailhead. I can drive it on not gas for part of the time. Like, great, I'm in. Well, okay, if it gets 27 miles to the gallon and it's pretty good most of the time, I think I might want something else. So I don't know. It's kind of a different thing. The other thing that I was going to bring up, though, back on the Grenadier argument, is that the one concession that I will give Colin and Mike, Mike was the other, he was pretty vigilant about it. I tend to think about cars in a vacuum where everybody's kind of an enthusiast. And so I think my point is that anybody that's doing the research that is buying these vehicles is going to cross shop them. I think Joe Schmo that walks into the Toyota dealership, he probably just made up his mind because he drove by. Or the guy buying a Rubicon is buying it because his buddy's got one and he doesn't even know what the hell an Ineos is. You're right on that. Like, yeah. I'm 100% comfortable with that. But I think anybody that listens to a podcast like this, the Truck Show that's on their Instagram looking at Forge Overland, those kind of people, I think still that they are cross-shopping those vehicles, because I think they might not want it and it's not the ultimate choice that they're going to make. But I think that they're looking at it as an option because it fits, because it's that Gladiator. Oh, wait, sorry. That Wrangler, Land Cruiser. What am I missing?
4Runner.
Defender
4Runner. I would take G-Wagon out because you can't get into a G-Wagon for under $150,000.
No, G-Wagon's
too much now.
That's a different thing.
And also, for all of our friends that are listening, and I understand what you mean, because I agree with you before you start yelling at me, there are 100,000...
If you want to yell at Sean, put it in the comments.
Yeah. Secret RSVP at gmail.com.
There's 100 vehicles at least that are used, that are a better value, that you could buy 7 times over.
But that's not what we're talking about.
But that's not what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
And to go full circle, that's the thing with the Forge Overland bit, and the reason that I was so upset with those comments. It's like, this dude is not talking about the car market sucks because of inflation and politics and emissions and all the things. He's just saying, look at this cool thing. It's a comparable price to other things in the market. And it's great.
Yeah, where it fits in the market and for what you get for that price in the current car marketplace, I think that it's priced nicely.
I do too. Am I a buyer right now? Fuck no. No, I'm not going to buy one. I have an 80 series with a big V8 in it, and I love it. But that's the thing I think I said, it was either this or another related thing. Like, I understand that, like, car enthusiasts will car enthusiast, right? Like, we will have a 240Z in the garage. We will have 5 cars. We'll have 4 cars and 1 driver.
Yeah.
We'll have all these stupid things. But I really hate the premise of that separates us from thinking that the other thing is cool.
Yeah. That's
one of the points that is hard to make via text message or just like broad social media concepts or whatever. That, like, I don't know. I'm not buying one. I probably not, but it's cool.
Land Cruiser is the new Land Cruiser is probably the first. It's the first Toyota that I can remember ever looking at and thinking, yeah, I could have one of those. And you guys know me. I hate Toyota.
We take some serious offense to that. You've ridden in my car, right? Man.
It doesn't move the needle.
No.
It just doesn't. It rides comfortably and it's nice. Nothing in Toyota moves the needle for me. It never has.
Well, and that's the problem with Toyota. For the longest time, they've been very boring.
Yeah.
Because they're just good.
That's if you look at the base model, they only make it in 3 colors: black, white, and silver. That's
which
the
is
most,
perfect.
It's the most offensive thing to me.
I looked at
It's
the
offensive
configurator.
to me.
I looked at the configurator. It was like, ooh, white, click, options.
That's
All other floor mats. All right, I'm good.
Yep.
You know why I like working for an
55,
Italian.
800.
You know why I like
I've got it
working for an
backwards.
Italian car maker? They make them in
The
colors.
Toyotas.
Mm-hmm.
The Toyotas just don't. I mean, you guys know that with me. They've never.
No.
There are aspects of a lot of them that I'm like, I can respect and like and appreciate. Like I like a 100 series. I like an 80 series. I like a 60. I like a 40, but I like the 75. Would I ever be someone that's going to own one? I doubt it.
Yeah.
I've owned 2 Toyotas
Yeah, you had an 8.6,
in my life. I had an 8.6 and I had a Cressida.
Oh, the Cressida, yeah.
And their cars are cool. They have a lot of cars, like cars that I'm really into.
Yeah.
But as far as like the 4x4 stuff, like they've never done it. And I hate to bring it up again. Actually, I don't hate to bring it up again.
Go ahead and dig it. Turn that knife.
I'm gonna turn the knife. Yeah. The only Toyota trucks that you can sit in comfortably are the Land Cruisers.
Yeah, they are
The
best.
80 and up.
Yeah.
80 and newer. Other than that, you're on the floor. I cannot stand that.
It's different.
I hate that.
One of the
so
first
much.
times I ever listened to the Truck Show podcast, Johnny Lieberman was on there. And Johnny came in, and he's a polarizing figure. But
You don't
especially to the Truck Show audience. And he came in there and he told a story about how the time he went to Japan and got to meet and go through the Land Cruiser engineering department. And it's a whole separate thing from the rest of Toyota. It's not like the guys went from a Camry project to working on Land Cruiser. You have to kind of like Nissan does with GTR, where it's like a special wing, or AMG with Mercedes or whatever. It's like a different thing. It's a whole different wing of Toyota developmental process. And that kind of ticked the box a little bit for me, that they treat it as a much more special thing, and they don't just churn them out to churn out the next Land Cruiser. They take it very seriously. They take a lot of personal pride in it, which reminded me of the GTR thing. If you've read the new GTR book, they talk a lot about that. But
Reading it right now.
it's really good. It's really really good.
We talked about starting a book club. Tyson says he doesn't want to be in it with me because he can't keep up, which I think is silly because Tyson is one of the smartest people I know. But whatever.
I'm a slow reader. I hear where he's coming from. I read 10 minutes.
Well, anyways, I don't know how you could read for 10 minutes. Anyways,
I'm the same, Luke. I'm lights out.
if I've started, I have to keep reading. It's like a movie. I don't just watch 10 minutes of a movie at once.
I'm
That's
not a reader.
stupid. Anyways, I'm reading that book. It's very interesting. I did hear or read at some point that thing about the Land Cruisers, that they have they have engineering goals that are 300,000 miles or something like that. And then they also, don't they modify every part? They don't use off-the-shelf parts for any of the large parts. So where it might be a 1UZ, it's different than the other 1UZs in some fashion.
I believe that's correct. At least that's what I found. A lot of the things for Tacoma Sequoia, Land Cruiser from my 100 series, all 1UZ, are some of them are different.
That's weird.
So.
It's cool. I think it's a neat thing, but it is a weird thing. And there's specific engines, obviously, too, right? That are Land Cruiser. I think this new one though is probably a little further from that ethos, right? It's got a lot of the same things going on. If I had to fault it, I think I said this when we actually talked about it long ago. The thing that bothers me the most is that it doesn't have a tailgate. I hate that so much.
That is a little...
That's straying away from the Land Cruiser thing.
God, it's just
my
come
wife, she said if she was ever to get a new vehicle, which she would want some type of SUV, she said it would have to have a split tailgate. And I was well, that really narrows down the selections.
That's a dying art.
Did the X5 have?
Yeah, it's
Oh, yeah.
got a split
Yeah.
tailgate on it, and she loves that.
Yeah.
And our Land Cruiser's got that, and she that's the best thing, she says. So
I think I'm with her. It's nice. I like
There are
it.
two things that Toyota has done that I really appreciate, and it's that and slide down back glass. Nobody else does slide down
Mhm.
full back glass.
Yeah, they've like died on that hill too. It's surprising how they still do it. Does the new Tundra have it? I haven't
I
seen
believe
it.
it does. I want to say it does.
The last body style did.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, I have vivid memories of how cool
Yeah.
Colin's was. Other Colin. Yeah, they're awesome. Okay, well I think we've probably exhausted that subject, right? Like,
Yeah, I don't
think
wanna,
that
like-
we're all.
It is funny though to me. One of the one thing there was the we're all car enthusiasts, and we're not just
Yeah.
like off-roaders or whatever. We have like a narrow scope of how we look at cars. But the other day, one of the pages posted a picture of or posted a video rallying the Huracan. And Colin
Sterrato?
the Sterrato, and Colin, being the car enthusiast, did not know what the Sterrato was.
I was
Never heard of her.
I was surprised by that too.
So you thought it was just some dipshit rallying a Lamborghini, and I'm like,
Yeah,
no,
that's
it's the best Lamborghini
thought it was like
ever
Whistling
made.
Diesel or some shit.
Yeah, that is another like example of that thing. And I tried to make this to Colin, and I think it felt like it landed a little bit. Was like, yeah, I'm not buying a Sterrato ever. I mean, I never say never.
I've got a client who has one, and it's awesome.
You never know, but it's a cool car, and because I'm nerdy about cars, and because I pay very close attention to it, because that's the thing that I really like. Like, I know it exists, and I like it. And the thing that I think I said then, I hope I said like in a way that made sense, is like, maybe I had a 959 poster on my wall as a kid, and I knew at that point, probably never going to get a 959, but I wasn't going to put an EG Civic on my wall. Like, I mean, I probably did as a teenager because they were awesome, but you know what I mean? The point I'm trying to make is like, even if, it's the dream big, like, even if it's not a dream big, like I want it, it's just like I appreciate art. So the best art is still cool. Right.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
I think it's more for me, like why I didn't know that it was a thing is everyone's algorithm is different.
Mhm. Oh yeah.
And like, I have clearly niched myself into like this pinhole of just weird cars,
Yeah.
not supercar stuff. Like I get nothing that comes with
You
like,
should
I mean,
slide through my
the
feed
newest
every once in a while.
shit that I get across my feed is like a 996.
Oh, wow.
And like
Honored.
anything else is just
the Porsche's
it's all-
making a Safari also, right?
yes.
Well,
But-
of course he knows that.
But I'm saying like I do. The reason I didn't know is because like I literally, that is not in my algorithm at all. Obviously, like I've got too many Peugeot 206s or something in my algorithm.
I can comfortably say that has never slid across my Explore page, not once. Not that I don't like them, just never comes up.
Any
Man,
Ladas?
Yeah,
Yeah, I got a lot of
from time to
that
time. Yeah, from time to
I
time.
sent
I'll
you
see
guys
some
the
Ladas.
Niva or is it the Niva or the Riva that's the SUV, the little 4-wheel drive one. I sent you guys a
Yeah,
picture
you
of that
sent-
from Germany,
I-
didn't I?
I thought it was a Panda 4x4.
Oh yeah, well it basically it is a Panda, but it's a Russian Panda.
Mm. Oh man, yeah, that's weird cars.
I went out of my way to
Sounds
walk
like a
past
new
that,
drink.
but I had to convince Eileen I wanted to see like a
Lot of
historical artifact.
She knew. As soon as she saw the weird car, she was like, "What are you doing?
What are you doing? Well, you're
When
married
does
to me.
when does your car come?"
It is on a boat in the English Channel right now. I checked a couple hours ago. We won't. It has to go through Panama.
Nobody knows about this except for Sean, apparently.
Oh yeah,
What is that?
and everybody
The
that's watched
ZR2 that
Top
we haven't
Gear-
talked about.
Wasn't there a Panda 4x4 on Top Gear at some point?
Yeah.
No. his car. You just mentioned his
Oh,
car
no, I
on
know.
a boat.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah. I was just making conversation. It's just a conversation.
Oh,
Okay, well,
Eileen. Well, it's not really
I don't know
mine.
anything about this car on a boat.
Eileen's car. Eileen's Volvo is on a
Okay.
boat.
A Volvo. Okay, excellent choice.
That's why we-
Family man.
Family.
That's why we went to Europe. We went and picked up her car at the factory and drove it around
That's
Europe
awesome.
for a week.
So I looked into this like heavily after you did that to try to figure out what the other European delivery programs were like, and it turns out that most of them don't exist anymore.
And it's
It was like
Porsche
the
and
main
Volvo.
one.
Mm.
Mhm.
Yeah, and like the Porsche one is, the
Top.
entry fee is a little
Yeah,
Yeah, a lot
higher.
higher. A lot higher.
Imagine
barrier
that.
entry.
And there is some Audi stuff, but it's real weird. Like you can't. I couldn't quite decipher exactly. It's like only certain models, certain ways, and then the other thing is like I think Q5s are made in the U.S. anyway.
Yeah.
So like, what are you gonna do? Pick it up in Georgia?
Well, like
Great.
the one that I had was made in South Carolina. The Volvo.
Your
I had.
Volvo?
Yeah, it was one of the first one. It was actually the first car that we had on the lot that was made in South Carolina.
Dang. Did you do a Carolina delivery?
I wish you'd go see
Go to Myrtle Beach.
Myrtle Beach. There you go.
That's right. Okay. Well, the thing I was going to transition to before we get really far out is my like train of thought, the process that I go through is like as we go up in these prices and we start talking about GX and Land Cruiser and Bronco probably to a extent and Ineos and those things. Like what do we think is next? Aaron brought some interesting information up about the next 4Runner, which I thought was cool.
Yeah, I want to hear more about that.
Yeah, and I want to know like as this evolves, like what actually happens. But like there is some info that's out that's interesting that probably can be shared, I would assume.
Yeah, our GM went to a GM meeting for Toyota, and they were kind of just laying out what the future was looking like as far as some of the SUV class. And they basically said everyone's waiting for the new 4Runner to come out. They didn't really give us a date yet, but they said it is going to be sandwiched between the Sequoia and the Land Cruiser. So Land Cruiser is actually going to be below 4Runner now.
That's crazy.
4Runner is going to be more, I think they're pushing more towards a luxury style, kind of what the current limited models are like.
Interesting. So keep off-road as
Yeah,
Land
but
Cruiser?
it's still going to be a frame style.
It'll be the same chassis.
It's not going. They're not going unibody or front wheel drive or anything weird like that. They're going to basically keep it frame wise how it is, but it'll be with the Tacoma and the rest of the platforms.
That
Interesting.
that really surprises me because the average,
Yeah.
there's a ton of 4Runners out there because they're all the same. But for 20 years they've been the same thing.
Yep.
But yeah.
Are they going to bring it back as the 4Runner Classic for another 20 years?
But that really surprises me because it seems like their core buyer is the buyer at $35,000 to $40,000. Like doesn't need a bunch. Like wants cloth seats. Wants 4-wheel drive. Likes like a decent stereo, but doesn't need like something fancy. Wants power windows and cruise control, but not like a stripped out car, but not a luxury car. I would never pin 4Runner as a luxury car.
So to your point,
They're
Luke,
going to sell more Land Cruisers.
look
this
at
way,
that
though.
base Land Cruiser because
Yeah,
that has everything you just said.
Yeah.
man.
And I think a lot of those people are going to be pushed more towards Highlander and
RAV4.
RAV4 stuff.
Oh,
So,
Mhm.
which,
It's too bad, but
Yes.
that's
Well,
what happens.
I'll say this though,
because they're two different buyers.
some of those
Yeah.
buyers probably should be in a RAV4
Yes.
when we're talking about overall, like mileage and size and all
Yeah,
those
and that's
things.
the other thing. The 4Runner's gotten so big; it's
Yeah.
bigger than my Land Cruiser is, my 100 series.
Yeah. Well, yeah, every time that I'd work with a newer Toyota before, or not Toyota, 4Runner before, I always thought, man, this is a good 80 series replacement because it's like kind of the same, just
Right.
not as long.
Right.
So
I wonder if some of that is they went too far into the size and luxury in the 200
Yeah.
and they didn't sell
Oh, no.
because it's obvious that
Yeah.
the 200 really didn't sell.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to curtail that back a little bit so that they can increase Land Cruiser numbers
Yeah.
back to where they were essentially.
That's fair.
Even though it's always been a luxury SUV.
I think, yeah, I don't think you're wrong there. I think the only thing that's interesting is that the Sequoia is big. Like,
Oh, yeah.
real big.
Mhm.
And it's really fancy. Like the,
Mhm.
what's the 1794? Is that the,
1794
or
edition.
like the capstone? Like
Capstone's the top.
those things are outrageously nice. And they're giant.
Yeah.
But obviously they're going for Suburban,
A certain size.
Escalade,
Yeah, exactly.
all those things. I don't know.
And that's where the 200 ended up.
Wagoneer. Yeah.
It was around that size.
Yeah, but not quite right. Like, it
Yeah.
just didn't,
Because
because
they started adding these luxury packages to them, and that's what with Forerunner they
Yeah.
started doing the limiteds, and everybody wanted more and more into them, and it
Interesting.
just and now it's kind of like you said, it shifted so far one way that I think they're trying to scale back.
Yeah.
The other
I wonder
direction.
with that if they will not offer V6 in Land Cruiser, keep it a 4-cylinder only V6, the Forerunner, and make it essentially a competitor, in quotes, to the GX. Like the high-end
Yeah.
GX and the Forerunner are kind of the same. That's interesting.
Yeah, or
I-
Wrangler
I-
Sahara, like, or
Yeah.
Wrangler Limited,
Mhm.
like
So,
Highline
yeah,
Wrangler,
where I
non-Rubicon
was trying-
Highline Wrangler.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where I was trying to go with this is like, what do we think is next? Like, if we had to make predictions on what's in the next 5 years going to come out like this,
A new
like,
Xterra.
part of me, yeah, probably, right?
And
part of
Nissan
me
has
thinks-
to. They, like,
Oh God. Well, they
They're-
could keep it around like a Forerunner though.
but they stopped making the last Xterra in
But they stopped.
2016.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. I forgot about that. The Frontier.
The Frontier is
so
new.
I might have said this, but like I had an option. I had an option for. I don't know why I just thought about you're gonna hate this, but because you hate everything.
I mean,
I had an option for rental car a few weeks ago, and it was like, all right, you can have an F-150, a Tacoma, or a Frontier, and I just kind of squinted out there. I was like, I want that TRD off road. Get that Frontier away from me.
it was a pre-runner, by the way.
It was with a locker, with a rear locker.
Frontier's
Yeah,
nice
That's what the
truck.
pre-runner is.
You should have taken the
It's
Frontier.
nice.
You wouldn't have had to stretch. You wouldn't have had to stretch the entire time you were sitting in it.
As I walked by the Frontier, I saw its 6-inch screen, and I thought, nah, that's not for me.
So it was an old Frontier?
No, it was a new one. Little tiny little rental car. Like, beep, beep. I don't even know if it
I
had
have
CarPlay.
no idea what Nissan's doing.
It's
It's like
stupid.
they're back.
I
in
don't like the new
1999.
Frontier.
I
I don't
like
think
them.
it looks. I don't like the look of it.
I like
It's
them.
fine. That's fine.
Hmm.
Anyways, my thought here is, like, do we think that with impending like automotive doom that is like gets into our feeds, I'm sure it's in yours too, hopefully. Do we think that we see softened vehicles, or do you think that this like trend of the GX and the Land Cruiser and the Ineos and the 392, do you think some of that maintains and our Forerunner, Xterra, Frontier, maybe there's a cheaper Defender? I don't know. Like, do any of those things still
No,
exist? or do you
Land
think-
Rover's still stuck in luxury.
Yeah.
They're going to ride luxury into the night, unfortunately.
I mean, they're a luxury brand. at this
They are
point.
right,
They're a
but
truck.
they've lost
Aston
their
Martin.
off-road brand due to that.
Yeah.
I mean, and
But they're
granted,
still
the Defender
trying,
can
though.
do stuff,
Yeah.
but it's not what they used to be. Obviously, everybody knows that. If you think otherwise, you're an idiot. But I
Hot
am kind of curious with how this switch with Land Cruiser and like really base modeling it, if maybe that's where we're going to go, rather than having all these mid pack vehicles, it's going to be stripped down versions of stuff for the niche crowds that want basically nothing, so that they can build what they want out of it.
Yep.
And then luxury supreme, and we get rid of this wasteland of middle ground.
Yeah.
Which Toyota does have a habit of doing that, at least in other countries, not in our country, because you can still get a 79 series and all that, and you can get them with nothing in them.
Yeah, what's crazy is you can get them mechanically way updated, right? Like
Mhm.
all the newest stuff, but with, the most
stripped down
basic
Troopy.
interior. Yeah.
You can get nothing in there.
Yeah.
Like
Toyota
it's
Gibraltar Holdings. If you
Oh
go to
my
that
God,
website,
yes.
it's so
Oh,
cool.
it's so awesome.
I don't know why
I think-
more manufacturers don't do that. And I mean, I guess I probably do know. It's because there's not as much money in
It's
it.
profit. Yeah. Of course it's profit. And it has, and that's okay. That's what they're there for.
That's
right?
that's why they
That's
exist.
the point.
Yeah.
The thing that sucks is like the 79, right? Like, I think, so this is, I think, counter car culture is a thing that we have been involved in, all of us, in some shape forever, right? Like things like that, things like lightweight cars, things like the fastest cars, all those things sometimes are counterculture to the average car, your Camry, your Accord, whatever. And I think as much as I want to say that, like, if Toyota brought a 79 in, there'd be people lining out the door to get it. I don't know. Probably. I think that's an example.
The niche crowd would.
Yeah.
Every Land Cruiser fanboy would be lining up to pay double what an Australian paid for one.
But
And it'd probably be really regional,
Yeah,
certain
yeah.
areas,
For sure.
Wichita, Kansas,
No.
they're probably not going to sell it.
And they're never going to steal sales. Luke will appreciate this one, I think. They're never going to steal sales from Fleet Ram,
No.
from Fleet
Absolutely not.
F-150.
No, but that's a
All
different
those things.
thing.
Yeah, but I mean, it's
It's a different
bottom
thing
line,
here.
right?
Yeah.
There, that is their market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why
it
is why
exists.
they have the stripped down stuff there, is because that is their fleet vehicles.
Yeah.
Is Land Cruiser.
I don't know. It's an interesting
I know so
concept.
little about that, but it's not really at the forefront of my thinking there.
You're not thinking about 70 Series Land Cruisers every day? Because I am.
Man,
I wish I thought less of them.
I don't know, man. That TDV8, I can.
Dude, I'm into the new four-cylinder.
get it.
Like,
I see
that's what I'm getting at. Like, it has modern tech, and it's old. Count me in.
I see
It's like
Y60
the
Patrols
pinnacle.
for sale every now and then, and that's kind of where my head's at. But
Well, patrols are,
Yeah.
they're pretty awesome.
They are
I mean,
pretty
it's
awesome.
if you're not getting a Land Cruiser in that market, you're getting a Patrol.
Yeah.
That's the
Uh,
that's the market.
I think that with further hybridization, which has to come to everywhere, Bronco has to go there with this iteration or the next. Wrangler's there. It's going to expand. Next Wrangler will have an EV component as well. I think you go further into the off-roady space, the full-size space, whatever, and further away from RAV4, CRV, Rogue, that really is the bread and butter of the SUV market, or was 5 years ago.
CUV.
All of a sudden, they've realized they can get around a lot of limitations by just adding weight. And then you can still meet those CAFE standards by adding weight and adding hybrid, and it makes you look good in the press because now you've got a hybrid to sell.
Mhm.
It looks good on marketing flyers. I think you're going to get even deeper into the space. I think that, like I said, Bronco has to go there. The Land Rover's not there yet, but it probably will too. They'll buy hybrid components from BMW or Mercedes or whatever, and they'll go the same direction.
It'll be Ford and Jaguar.
Oh no,
if they have any.
No, they've divorced themselves from Ford and Jag a long time ago. Same with Volvo. Ford sold that whole thing. So Land Rover's an Indian-owned company now. They're part of Tata.
Yeah.
Oh, I like Tatas.
It's a
You like Tatas. It's
Yeah,
different.
that's what I said. I like Tatas. Yeah, my Land Rover knowledge pretty much
It
ends
stops
at
at
the
02.
Ford and Jaguar era. After that,
Done.
don't care.
Yeah, Ford sold all of those in 2013. So Volvo's not a Ford anymore. Same with Land Rover and Jag. And Aston Martin.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's an argument to be made there, right? Like, if you could take, let's say, as a thought experiment, the 392 Wrangler, right, and ditch the 392 because
that engine's going away.
it's going away.
Yeah.
And then you put in the new Hurricane inline 6, which probably isn't going to fit, but let's just pretend.
Next Wrangler, that's part of the package.
Yeah. And then you hybridize it, and it's got 800 pound-feet of torque.
Yeah.
Everybody's happy, right? It gets great press. It's cool. It's fast. I don't know if
It's
anybody
back to an
loses
inline
there.
6.
Yeah. So I get that. And then you could probably thought experiment that out with Ford as well, right? Like some sort of hybridized EcoBoost that makes a shitload of power and great. Like that's perfect. And I think in those cases, I hate to sound like super altruistic, I guess is the word. Like everybody wins because you're getting better economy, more power, all these things.
Yeah.
Now, Jesse, while you're listening to this, I understand that complicates the vehicle.
Yeah.
And there is more
Of course, it
electronics.
complicates the vehicle, whatever.
But in this dream world, it's 2026, and there are less problems, hopefully.
So know this, that light-duty Hemi's gone. As of right now, you cannot get a Ram 1500 with a Hemi yet. You can only get it with the 3 levels of inline 6. Whatever replaces JL, it won't be a J, whatever they call it. Yeah, JM, JR, I don't know.
Junior.
Hopefully. That will...
It's the Wrangler Junior.
Old Junior.
I don't have any insider knowledge, but I would pretty much guarantee it's an inline 6 of some sort with the Hurricane engine, because that's their new global engine. And there's very clear, like, they're not too secretive about that they have had EVs at Moab for 3 or 4 years. In many different iterations. They kind of change it and tweak it every year. And the 4xe plug-in, like we started the show with, is sells itself basically for them. The Wrangler's absolutely gone that way. And if Land Cruiser and Wrangler were already there, all of a sudden Bronco and
Maybe
everything else is kind of
advancements
like
from one company force the other companies to catch up.
Well, and then Mazda is their new large crossover SUV. Was it the XC90 or whatever it is? It's an inline
CX90.
The CX90, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
I gotta give them credit. They're new SUVs. I like the styling.
I think they're great. We just talked about this. The CX50 is
CX50, yeah.
beautiful.
Looks cool.
Chef's kiss. Here's a fun one. 38% of total Wrangler sales in 2023, 4xe.
I see so many of them.
Well,
I see them everywhere.
And it's with that market change of the hybrid, plug-in hybrid stuff in the 4x4 scene. Now, obviously, it's not necessarily off-road, but because half of them probably aren't getting used that way. But that has to be the next step.
Yeah.
Because full electric still is not to the point where people that want to use them that way can, because they do not have the range and the charge time is potentially too long. But once those
places, right?
Once those get to that point, that's when those may actually be able to force the big manufacturers to have full electric versions of their vehicles.
You need at least a 500 mile.
But until then,
or more charging, right?
Yeah, or more charging. But the argument that if somebody were on the other side of this argument, they would say, "Well, Rivian exists," and I agree, Rivian does exist, but
it's still not enough range.
Most Rivian buyers aren't doing the 4 or 5 day expeditions that sometimes they're not doing the Alvord BlackRock trip in a Rivian. It just doesn't. It's not happening.
No.
Right, but that's the point I'm making is the people that want to do that in that type of vehicle know that they aren't going to be able to until that range is 800 to 1,000 on the front end, because when you're out remote, there is not going to be some place to charge.
Yeah.
So you don't get to just go to the fuel station and fill up along the way. It's going to be, you have to be in a large area, you know, a populous area in order to charge. So in order for those guys to be able to force their way into that type of market, they need that range. And then maybe that forces the big companies, the Fords, the Jeeps, the Chevys, whatever, to then have electric versions, full electric versions of the vehicle that's already there.
Yeah.
But until then, they're in their own market, and it won't be forcing the hand of these guys, the rest of the companies that have a hybrid.
Yeah, well, because like even we have our own range anxiety. It's just that like carrying more range on board with us isn't as
Much
detrimental to the range that we already have. Carrying an extra 5 gallons of gas doesn't diminish our range by adding weight the way it does on an EV. There's a
100%.
much narrower scope that if you add weight, you take away range, where in a gas vehicle that isn't nearly as detrimental.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Well, so yeah, electric, that's really where that's a lot of where we're headed. Yeah. And I don't think it's bad.
I like it.
I do too. I know that I'm going to be burned at the stake for saying it because there's plenty of opinion, at least in my algorithm, and my day-to-day conversations that include dislike for that. And I get it. Like, I understand that. I've talked about this out like nauseating length with all of you in regular day-to-day stuff, but like, I get it. I understand. I have a big V8. I love it. It sounds great. It's got choppy idle. Like, I love it. I'm buying an old car this weekend. Like, I love them. But that's where they exist. Is the old car and the older SUV. The next step is not that for me. And some people are adamantly fighting to keep that as the forefront of technology, but it's just not. Like, I imagine there were a lot of people fighting for all different forms of vehicle as we've gone along through progress, you know, smaller engines, turbochargers, more efficiency, cars versus horses, whatever the thing might be. I think it's a, story as old as time, probably, right? Like, it just always happens. But I love technology and I love innovation with those things.
Technology.
Not that much. Not that much.
Okay, Kip.
Close, but not that much.
Don't sing too much of that. We don't want to get any copyright issues.
So my long rant there just gets to, I think that's exciting. Like, I want 500 pound-feet of torque and a plug-in hybrid that can get 50 miles in town and go 700 on a tank. That's my ideal overlander.
Yeah.
Like, how does that not awesome?
That's what the hybrid stuff will do.
Yeah.
Though, is it's going to give the people that want to use them in that sense, in the overland sense, that extra range that is like, oh wow, like, I don't actually have to worry as much now. I can do all of this mileage, skip all of the, I guess Luke and I have talked about this before, skipping the small towns for fuel and whatnot. When groups like us come through there, it's because we have to get fuel. It's good for
we're spending
those little communities. Yeah, I mean, between the 7 cars or whatever it is, when we go into fields all at the same time at $100 a tank,
plus food,
plus the food,
plus milkshakes and cheeseburgers.
Like, that's
it's $1,000.
Yeah, that's a big day for these small towns.
For 7 or 8 vehicles,
these little communities, they need it.
It's probably $1,500 to $2,000 for 7 or 8 cars with kids and 2 people, and and God knows what I pay for like $8 a gallon for diesel out there.
Yeah, that's the plight of America. Is there's so many small towns, like, we can't get as remote as what those vehicles make capable.
Yeah.
Now, in places like Australia or Africa, things like that, Absolutely. That's going to make a huge difference for those cars in that market, because those, you can go a week without hitting another town, seeing another person in those areas. And that type of range is needed.
Yeah.
Here in this area, it's really not. Would it be nice?
Absolutely.
Yes. All of us that use the vehicles the way we do we want that.
Yeah.
But
it's
not needed. Yeah, it's a comfortability thing.
Yeah.
I know I can go this far, so I don't need to get fuel now.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
To kind of go a little outside of the hybrid, which I think that's where everything's going. You know, that's going to be the pinnacle until something else comes along, which I know Toyota's really hitched their wagon to the hydrogen idea. In that newsletter you forwarded to us, that we signed, the Engine Labs, the current one that came out, they have is it a Belgium company? I can't remember. It's a European company that are specifically working on hydrogen race engines.
Yeah.
And I was reading that today. It was really interesting.
I think GR Corolla, they have a hydrogen, like TCR Cup car.
Yeah.
That is like a hydrogen prototype. And it refuels in like 60 seconds.
So there's a company in the U.S. that's very big in hydrogen, and they had a SEMA display they have a monster truck that they did, but the guy that is the head of this company has some really interesting technology with hydrogen, and the way that it creates emission based on the the power that it makes. It is outrageous. They get a ton of power in a not easier way than gasoline, but like I think E85 to gas kind of thing, essentially, and very low emissions. It's really cool. They had to there's all sorts of really cool stuff. So if you get a chance, look into it. There is some really big stuff being done there, and I think it's really neat. It's not quite there. It's got a bad reputation, weirdly, because people think that it's like super volatile, which it can be in the right scenario. But 480 volt electric systems are not super safe either.
Well, and Toyota's already got the Mirai, which you can get in LA. Yep. So, I think that's another nice looking car. But
there's 2 filling stations?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's
the
infrastructure is just not there.
So you were close, Aaron. It's Hungarian. They're Hungarian, and the company is AVL.
AVL.
Sorry to the Hungarians out there listening.
Our Hungarian
they're our fourth most common listener.
My apologies.
The HUMDA lab.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, there's some cool stuff with hydrogen, and I like that idea. I like keeping the combustion engine in the way it is. My hope has always been that our traditional commuter cars and normal boring cars and buses and trains and planes and boats switch to the most efficient thing that we can find. Yeah. And then there is some way to retain our classics. That's like the thing.
Airplanes are extremely inefficient.
Oh, they're terrible. They're so bad.
Well, that's a built-in problem. That's a physics problem. That's not a electric airplanes are a long.
There's a weight thing going on there.
Weight's a real challenge.
We got the
energy density is really the real challenge.
Yeah,
gotta get the Wile E. Coyote program going with the giant slingshot.
Yeah.
That's the thing. All right. I think we're good. Unless you got anything else?
Well, just calling it, huh?
That's it.
You're calling it? You're not going to...
Turn it off.
There's not going to be a zinger?
That's the zinger.
Sean's got to pee.
Since Luke is here, the podcast that I was telling you the date for, I'll pull him up. It's a Nissan guy.
Oh, okay.
Oh, God.
So
I'll just see myself out.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is it won't be an hour and a half long cocksucking section?
No, I'm good.
He had a hard enough time with fucking Briley, the Jeep guy.
God.
I was like, what do I talk about? So you like Jeeps, huh?
There's 2 of them. There's one where it's all Land Cruisers, and then there's another one where it's all Volkswagens. And I'm like,
oh, yeah. That was
Right,
the
with
best
some
one.
Forerunner stuff thrown in, yeah.
God.
At least it's a first
Look,
gen.
you got lucky. I wasn't on that one. We
Oh,
could have gone
God.
2 hours probably.
Oh,
Oh, that's right. Our camera's way over there.
yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah.
See if I can get
Just text it to me. I don't.
this
It's so
This
grainy,
guy?
I can't tell.
That's an Xterra, I think.
It looks like the Zapruder film of Xterras.
Yeah. That's what Aaron's going to look like if you don't pay us our money.